Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Rochelle, the Real Life Carnivore. I know it's been a really long time since I've done a live, but things have been a little busy as I prepare for baby number two. I'm so excited for baby number two. We're just so grateful that the Lord has given us another opportunity to disciple a little person. And yeah, so go ahead, get comfy. If you guys want to let me know in the chat or in the comments where you're visiting from, where you're watching from, I would love to know where you're at. So before we get started, I would just like to share that if I have to run away for a second, it's because my little dude wakes up from his nap. That's why I'm recording right now, because he's sleeping. But he could very well wake up because for some reason, every time I go to do something live, there's like a severe thunderstorm, which is currently happening. Like I can't hardly see across my yard because of the rain. I don't know why it does that, but it just does. So anyway, we're going to just roll with it, and hopefully my service doesn't just drop off. But welcome. If you have questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat with the QQQ. Any questions, but I'm going to share a little bit of an update because I am 36 weeks pregnant with baby number two, carnivore baby number two. And I just wanted to share some things that are very different with this pregnancy. I've heard a lot of ladies say, that their pregnancy, their first pregnancy to their second pregnancy was completely different. And then second and third, fourth, this and that, whatever. But for me, some of the biggest things have been, so let me start with the story for those of you who maybe don't know who I am. So my husband and I went carnivore October 2nd, 2022. We were both told that we were completely infertile and that we would not be able to have children naturally. There was only one option for us other than adoption, and that was IVF. And I was like, we must have missed something. I heard Kelly Hogan's testimony about how she went carnivore and she was able to reverse her infertility and go on to have successful pregnancies. And so I was sold from that second on. I was like, I'm all in, whatever I got to do. And so we were able to conceive in December. I miscarried, but we got pregnant again in April of 2023. And I had a beautiful home birth with our beautiful baby boy, December 21st, 2023. And I do have a video on that, so feel free to go check out my channel. And you can check out my video. I have shared my birth story. I did an unmedicated home birth, a natural home birth, and that is my plan, Lord willing, this time as well. So when I was pregnant with our first son, I guess the pregnancy was like kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, if you will. I lived my entire life as an athlete and had a serious disordered relationship with eating. I would restrict all day and then binge all night. I was a sugar addict. I was a carb addict. I was a closet eater, meaning I would just, hey, Maureen, I would just go and literally hide in the cupboard and eat and then look to see if anybody was watching. When I would go to the grocery store, if I was picking up treats, say it was Oreos, buy 2 packs, one for me to eat on the way home because I knew I couldn't resist it, and then another pack to bring into the house to make it look like I had not touched them. Which is so deceptive. Just thinking back about it, it's like I was living in such deception when this was happening. I also wasn't a believer at the time, so that kind of changed things too. But this pregnancy, my first pregnancy that I had, I ended up just with the compounded trauma from my life, my former lifestyle as an athlete, it ended up triggering hypothyroidism. And so I started working with Dr. Elizabeth Bright. And if you have not heard of her, she is amazing. She is super supportive with carnivore. She is an advocate for women's health. And she is the first doctor who actually took me seriously when I said, I can conceive, but I can't stay pregnant. And she shared with me that when that happens, it's often because of hypothyroidism. It's just a low functioning thyroid. And it's how has it been that I've had so many tests, innumerable tests for the last, 10 years, and they still haven't figured this out. Yet she took one look at me and was like, you're hypothyroid. I was like, oh, okay. And she also let me know that I have Hashimoto's. So those are two big factors going into this current pregnancy that I was not expecting. I did not go carnivore to receive further diagnoses. I was actually very annoyed, and she knows that I was really annoyed. But I don't believe that a diagnosis is a death sentence. I think it's just a course correction. It's an opportunity for me to, at that junction, that fork in the road, to make a decision. Okay, I'm either going to go back down the path of destruction, or I'm going to continue on the path of healing. She did say in my particular case, the chances of me being able to go off of thyroid medication is pretty slim to none. But there's always hope. So I have that little sliver of hope that maybe I might be able to get off the medication. But even if not, I'm excited to see how it helps me moving forward with how I'm feeling and those types of things. So like I said, going into this pregnancy, I was not expecting to have Hashimoto's or hypothyroidism, but it just makes sense because I was unable to sustain a pregnancy without taking a supplement called Chase Tree or Vitex, which helps bolster progesterone. My body just would not produce it on its own. It was too busy trying to survive on its own. So I wanted to share a couple of topics with you guys. And like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. But here are a few topics that I wanted to share with you about what has been different with this pregnancy versus my first pregnancy. So obviously the Hashimoto's and the hypothyroidism is very different because I've had to go on medication for that, supplementation for that, and I'm taking a naturally desiccated thyroid to help. And it's made a pretty big difference. I was still severely hypothyroid in the beginning of my pregnancy. Second trimester, I was almost there. And then third trimester, there are only a few reference numbers that I can go off of because there is no actual reference range for T3 during pregnancy in the third trimester. I don't know why, but it's just not something that is available on the internet or through doctoral websites at this time. So that being said, going on the medication was very interesting because it seemed to like unearth my old eating patterns and thought behaviors around it. I started craving things that I haven't ever craved, started craving things and wanting things that I haven't wanted in over 3 years since I started carnivore. And it was just very bizarre. There was also a huge emotional component to it. And I've heard, and I've seen this with my own clients as well, that can be really normal, which I feel like that should be a disclaimer on the label to note that you may experience some uprising of old patterns, habits, thoughts, behaviors, emotions, those types of things. Now, it lasted for about 4 to 6 weeks before it kind of tapered off, but it's definitely eye-opening to see how when hormones are starting to come back online and things are starting to shift in a more positive direction physically, how your body can kind of have these reactions like, stress response. It can make a huge difference. And so it was definitely a learning curve. I had to be very, very, very creative with my food, particularly because I am not supposed to be consuming any dairy at all, which if you know me, I am a dairy fairy. I love my dairy. I love my cheese. I love my heavy cream. Butter doesn't count because most of the casein and the whey is pressed out of it. It's just isolating the fat, but I really love my yogurt. I really love my dairy. And so not being able to have that during this pregnancy has been really challenging. And don't tell Dr. Bright, but there are a few times where I have caved and had a spoon of yogurt or a bite of cheese or a bit of raw milk just because I just like, if you've ever been pregnant and you've had cravings, like there are some cravings that just don't go away with just being dismissive. It's like when it keeps you up at night because all you can think about is a glass of fresh raw milk. It's like, my body probably needs some minerals or something from that. So, and I knew that it was a true craving, not just an emotional craving. I knew it was a true craving because when I had the first sip of milk, the craving went away. It's like that first sip and then the rest of the glass, I think I had like 6 to 8 ounces or something like that. It totally put the craving at rest and like settled my nervous system and I was able to go to sleep. It was the most bizarre thing. And I see Maureen has a question here. What is the reason that dairy was not good for you? Okay, so dairy, oh man, I'm a dairy lover, so I will always go to war for it, but I also am very logical in the sense that I also understand there's another side to this argument. So dairy can be hyper-inflammatory for most people, and if somebody has an autoimmune condition or a skin condition or something like that, like Hashimoto's, or they have psoriasis or eczema, often the culprit can be an inflammatory response from consuming things like dairy. I just heard Rebecca Heichman, our wonderful friend, Tailored Keto Health, talking yesterday about how dairy is very estrogenic as well. So for a lot of ladies, when they're trying to lose weight, including dairy is just not a good idea because it is estrogenic, and something about she said the dairy fats. She couldn't remember the language around it, and I completely forgot to look it up myself so I could reference it. But the dairy fat is where hormones are stored. So yes, animals store their hormones in their fats, but estrogen specifically in the milk fat, she said. So for most people, it's very inflammatory. So if you're a person who consumes dairy and you notice that you get an itchy throat, or you get a cough, or you get congestion, or you get postnasal drip, or you get itchy, that can be an indication that you're having a response or a reaction to dairy. Dairy is also very high in histamine. I think after day 3, it's like histamine starts peaking in dairy if it's not fresh anymore. So that can be the other reason. I just love it. It just keeps me carnivore. that's what my carb cravings have been for during this pregnancy, is just dairy. I'm like, man, a piece of cheese would be so good, man. A little bit of yogurt would be so delightful. A little bit of heavy cream, you know. So yeah, hopefully that helps answer your question, Maureen. And I will show your question on the screen. So yeah, what else was I going to share? So I am still breastfeeding my little guy. He is pretty well self-weaned at this point. So he's 18 months of age, and he's basically just nursing to go to sleep for his naps and for bedtime at nighttime, which is very foreign to me because he was literally attached to me for the first, I would say 13, 14 months. And then all of a sudden, as soon as he started walking, he was like, okay, I'm good now, Mom, bye. But I'm loving this. Breastfeeding is very painful in your when you're pregnant, just because your nipples are so sensitive. But I still wouldn't change it for the world. And at 18 weeks, your colostrum comes in. And so for some children, they don't like that. They don't like the colostrum. So they kind of self-wean on their own, but he's still enjoying the benefits of it. So I'm just going to leave it alone. I did have the beef aversion beef and egg aversion during my first trimester, which I had with my first son as well. And I've actually had that come back in the 3rd trimester this go around, which did not happen with my first full-term pregnancy. So I thought that was really interesting. So I've been relying on lamb, fatty chicken, turkey, and just trying to be creative. Lots of protein pancakes. I use Equip Prime protein. They have an unflavored beef isolate, so it's just beef. And then I use gelatin and baking powder and 2 eggs. And that's the only way I can get the eggs in, because obviously the protein powder masks the flavor. And then I just cook it in a hot skillet. And it's delightful. I eat that smothered in butter, and it tastes so good. Let's see. I just want to read Shirley's comment here. I understand when I'm having a hard time eating enough meat, I go to a few bits of cheese. Yes. Okay, so this is exactly what I'm talking about, because like having these food aversions, especially even in my first full-term pregnancy, anytime I would think about eggs, I was like, oh, it's not really one I want to eat, but they're inexpensive and super accessible. So I was like, if I just throw a whole bunch of cheese on that, I will eat it. I will eat it because the cheese just makes it all better. So yeah, thank you, Shirley, for sharing that, because I'm with you. And then Maureen shared, I breastfed Patricia while I was pregnant with Alice, and for 1.5 years I was nursing both of them. Okay, so tandem nursing. That's a really interesting subject, and I want to briefly touch on that, because I'm not sure how my body's going to respond to that, but I do trust that I will provide and supply enough milk. I understand that milk supply is based upon supply and demand, skin to skin contact, those types of things. And I have a feeling my 18-month-old is still going to want to nurse. He's still going to want to participate in that for at least a little while, I would think, while he's adjusting to the new arrival. So if anybody has any tips about tandem nursing, Maureen, please feel free to put them in the chat. I would love to have that documented if that would be possible, because I will take them. I am a part of a breastfeeding group, and we're supposed to be meeting before I deliver, but who knows? I had Braxton Hicks contractions, which it's normal for this time of pregnancy, this stage of pregnancy, but they were every 10 minutes for about 5 to 6 hours the other day, and I was like, I'm probably overdoing it. So that's another thing that's been really interesting with this pregnancy is it's very easy for me to overdo it. All I was doing was preparing meals, foods for postpartum because I want to make sure that I have nutritious meals that we can just heat and eat. So I am stocking my freezer. I have two more preparations that I want to do. I want to do a meatloaf and I want to do burger patties. And then that way everything can just be reheated, cooked from frozen, whatever, just for some convenience because I understand that first and second week are probably going to be a blur. I actually don't remember much of the first and second week after delivering my son. So I just want to make sure that I'm prepared and have all of the things that I need. I also wanted to share on the topic of what has been most challenging for me with this pregnancy. I would say it's challenged my faith a lot because I've had more fear with this pregnancy, fear that I'm doing something wrong, fear that I haven't got my medication right because that was a problem. I went from being severely hypothyroid to severely hyperthyroid. And then, people like to tell you all the scary things that can happen when you go from severely hypo to severely hyper. And it's like, don't tell me all the scary things. Yes, I need to be aware of these things, but also at the same time, breathe life into me. Don't breathe death onto me. I'm not okay with that. And the good book says that we have not been given a spirit of fear, but one of sound mind. Sound mind and, wow, my brain is just not working. I think it's peace and sound mind, something like that. But I trust that this baby is in good hands. I trust that this baby is going to be healthy, that we are going to be full term, if not a couple weeks early, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But healthy, complication-free, home delivery, unmedicated, same way I did the first one. The other biggest challenge has been sleep. And if any of you have had children, teething is so much fun. And when our littles are hitting certain milestones, so much fun. they just do not want to sleep at night. And I don't think it's because they don't want to sleep. It's because they're in pain and they don't know how to communicate that. So our precious little guy has been really struggling with molars coming in and then going through really big developmental leaps. And last night I was just so exhausted that when he fell asleep, it wasn't maybe 5 minutes after he fell asleep, I fell asleep and I woke up and both of us were in the exact same position that we had fallen asleep in several hours later. The only reason why I woke up was because pregnancy bladder. And I moved him into his little bed and he did not move until this morning at 8:45 a.m. So he slept for over 12 hours. And I was like, praise God, because I got to sleep during that as well. It's wild to me how even the deepest sleeper, so if you're a lady and you're worried that you're a really deep sleeper and that you wouldn't be able to co-sleep with your child or lay down with them without falling asleep and then rolling onto them or something like that. I know for me, coming to Carnivore, that reset my sleep completely. It allowed me to actually be able to sleep, which I'd never slept in my life. And I would be dead to the world. Nothing was waking me up. And then I had a little person. And if his breathing changed, and they're quiet. Newborns are quiet. for the most part. But his breathing would change and I'd be awake. I'd be like, what's going on? What's going on? One little twitch, one little finger moved. I'd be like, what's going on? So it's just very interesting to me to see how that has changed. But I'm able to sleep well as long as I know he's okay. It's just I don't know, call it helicopter parenting or whatever you want, but I just need to know that he's okay. And I do wake up at times, to check on him to make sure he's totally fine. And there's no reason why he wouldn't be, but I don't know. I guess neuroticism has stepped in with being pregnant. Um, and Maureen has given us all some advice. Trust your body. I never had a problem with milk supply. I probably could have fed a third. Wow. But it's a lot of demand on your body. I lost a lot of weight tandem nursing. It's exhausting, but worth it. Yeah, thank you for that encouragement. And I mean, obviously, I'm not breastfeeding to lose weight, but it is a benefit of breastfeeding is the weight loss. Like the babies just vacuum all the fat out of you, which is not a bad thing. Okay, I want to keep this relatively short. So I'm going to go for about another 8 or 9 minutes here. So if anybody watching has any questions, feel free. If you have a comment after the live stream, feel free to comment and I will get back to you as soon as I am able. So the last thing I wanted to share about this pregnancy is what I am most grateful for. So the things I am most grateful for with this pregnancy are that A, I have been able to sustain nursing a toddler. B, being a mom has taught me so many valuable lessons, and it actually taught me how selfish I am. That's fully transparent. I'm being fully transparent. I did not realize how selfish I am and can be about certain things. Like, when you really have to go to the bathroom and you just really need to go now. Sometimes I'm really selfish about that. And I'm like, but I'm potty training my little dude. He's potty trained right now. And it's like sometimes when I need to go to the bathroom, he needs to go to the bathroom. So I just have to think about somebody other than myself. Like, okay, I have this need, but also he probably has this need, which has made potty training very easy, especially with a pregnancy bladder. You go pretty consistently, and so do little people. But he's gotten better in the last couple of days. He's been holding it longer, like 3 to 5 hours in between having to go to the washroom. And it's not like he doesn't drink a lot of water, because he does. He'll drink my 40-ounce tumbler by himself first thing in the morning. And I'm like, okay. Some other things that I am grateful for is how motherhood has challenged my thinking. So obviously discipline is a huge thing. We don't want our children to grow up to be little sociopath murderers. That like manipulation, especially emotional manipulation. A lot of kids just have that capacity. Well, I think all kids have that capacity to kind of like emotionally manipulate, but they just can't tell you that that's what it is. They just do it. So it's like the fake crying, when like they've done something wrong and you've corrected them and you put them in a timeout or whatever, and then they like sit there and like fake cry. I always know that cry because I'm like, it sounds so different than a real cry. Hey, Carrie, nice to see you. I was just thinking of you the other day. Welcome. Nice to see you. But anyway, I'm grateful for learning about emotional manipulation because it happens. I'm also grateful for the fact that even though I'm having all these weird food aversions and I have these super annoying diagnoses hanging around, I'm just so grateful that I'm still able to nourish my body in a way that I know is taking care of this baby and preparing my body for another baby in the future if the Lord would be gracious enough to grant us another child, because I would love to have 10 kids. Now, I'm kind of an old lady, so I don't know if 10 is really feasible. And the selfish part of me that I was referring to earlier wants 10 live children. I want 10 children total live. That's not to include the 3 that I have already lost, but because if it is, then I'm at 5. I'm halfway to 10. But whatever God has in store for us is good. I trust his plan and his timing. So I will also be very curious to see how quickly my cycle comes back. My cycle came back 9 months on the dot postpartum with my little sunshine. I'll be really curious to see how quickly it comes back, given that my thyroid will be supported this time. But that's another thing I'm grateful for is Dr. Bright and her willingness to not just see patients, but to actually hear them. And when you fill out the questionnaire for her, and I know she's super difficult to get into right now, when you fill out the questionnaire to get in to see her, she is so thorough. She can actually go through and give you more than just one reason, your labs, why you would be considered hypothyroid or why you would have Hashimoto's or whatever the diagnosis is. And there were like 15 different things that correlated with why I was having both of those, the autoimmune Hashimoto's and the hypothyroidism. And those are not the same thing. I used to think that they were, but they are not the same thing. But I'm super grateful for her and her willingness to take me on as a patient. And I'm looking forward to finding a doctor here who will take me seriously as well and who will help me in my continued care once I graduate from working with Dr. Bright. And I love her. I wish I could just always be her patient. Not that I want to be a patient, a doctor patient, but she's fantastic. I'm also super grateful for how this pregnancy and having a toddler has totally strengthened my relationship with my husband. It has built us up in so many ways. And I would even go as far as to say, like, my husband is even more loving and more attentive and more tender, knowing that I have all of these things going on. He's offered me a lot more grace when I'm having like a rough day or something like that. Or if I need something, he's super helpful, super responsive. And like, the Lord knew what I needed when he gave me that man. And I'm just so grateful for my husband, because I would not want to be doing this alone. I would definitely be sucking at this if I was doing this on my own. But yeah, that's kind of my update. That's where things are at. And I'm really looking forward to, like I said, a smooth, complication-free, unmedicated home birth. And that is my prayer. So if you're the praying type and you would like to pray along with me, I am open to receiving those prayers as well. It's going to be amazing learning what it's like to have 2 under 2. So if I'm off the radar for a little while, you guys know why. But we're like I said, we're seeing the midwife tonight. I am 36 weeks officially today, and we will see what happens in the next couple of weeks. Hey, Alyssa, thanks for joining. We'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks here, and hopefully everything will continue to progress along. Oh, and one more thing I wanted to say, because people always told me that when you're pregnant, your babies move differently. I didn't realize how differently. So with my first, he was very like slow, calculated. He would like pulse his little feet in my diaphragm. And I was like, okay, and he's out of the womb. He's still like that. He's very gentle and sweet and thoughtful. And he's very calculated and he's very observant. And then this baby's like, woo, like having a party all day, every day. And I'm like, holy moly, okay. So I've had a calm child and maybe I'm going to have a wild child. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm looking forward to meeting this little one when they arrive at their appointed time. So it's been lovely sharing with you all. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop them, like I said, under this video in the comments. Yeah, give me a follow on Instagram at Real Life Carnivore, and share this video if you think it might be helpful with somebody else, if they're struggling with infertility or if they're having hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's or any of those things. Hopefully it's an encouragement to them too. So there is a way forward and there is a way through. So have a great rest of your day, guys. Bye.